Hello everyone and welcome to the Barrett House today. My name is Sepa Sama and I'm working mainly with the subject of walking. I did my doctoral work in Europe on walking between Poland and Sweden, and also I did a residency in Estonia during that time. And a little bit about background of walking. Uh, we did a lot of research. I did a lot of research looking at the subject of walking. I share with you a few of the important ones. One is, for example, the birth of education. It's said that was by Aristotle, that he took the students to the grove. So education was linked, the formal education was linked initially to walking. So we didn't sit down and learn, but we walked and learned and had questions. And this is in the book of Carrie Smith, The Wonder Society. You can see that. Another important thinker in my work research was Nietzsche, who during the academic years he wasn't very productive, and he criticized this idea of sitting behind a desk. And after he got unwell and he left academy, he started walking to the mountains. So almost except the first one, all of his books that we know was written by walking to the mountain and writing. Another important and popular book is Rebecca Solnit's The Wanderlust, A History of Walking. This book finishes by saying that history of walking is a history of everything. I have a lot of faith in this subject because by knowing walking, we know ourselves, our environment, our bodies, and our languages. Still a lot we have to do on this subject, and many of our important thinkers try to point at this subject. My background also comes from photography to walking. So I used to do very long walks, and sometimes up to 9 hours. So when I did my doctoral proposal, I had this concept of working with strip cities, documenting cities by walking and photography. But working with my aesthetics professor, Dr. Agnieszka Bandura, I started reading around 200 books on walking, which is on my website. So I got very interested to know about this subject, and I started writing small notes, thousands of. By today, maybe I've written around 100,000 notes. So when I showed this to Dr. Bandura, she told me to organize them in a form of lexicon. So my dissertation was a 627 pages lexicon on walking, but these are all fragmented notes, which trying to map the subject of walking. So because I write a lot of notes, poetry and lexicon, and also photos, and nowadays videos also, so a lot of work is lost. So so books is a way of organizing stuff, and trying to save some stuff, some material that you think is important, so it won't be lost. So by now I've worked on 22 books. So at Barrett House I was planning to finish my 23rd book. And I was hoping to hear the birds, but now it's construction. That's why I came outside under this tree. But anyhow, so the books as a way of organizing. When I was in residency, for example, in Estonia, I also did a book. Another opportunity to be at the Barrett House is to work locally and to look at Barrett House as a center of my work, like a map. And so I started here and I kind of this idea of making your own map and explore everything around it locally, going to the coast, going to the city and the reserves and everything. So this work is very locally oriented, whatever I'm doing at the moment. I also met another fellow artist from NAS. Her name is Baby, as you can see. So meeting her, and we had these many conversations and ideas of collaboration. So the film came into the picture. We were both inspired by Kiarostami's last film, 24 Frames. So we started experimenting with that idea. But we are also still trying to work with the subject of walking and film. But sometimes we are also having this character of wind, because I also work with fabrics, as you can see, and working outside. And every time now you can see these small films I'm putting on Instagram. I also try to write, but these days I'm also writing poetry. So I read one of the poems I just wrote the other day, The Gate. The day leans forward, the bridge keeps still. A name once spoken fades with the tide. In a dream of gardens, light carried a scent, not found, yet remembered. Then the quiet one came, a key in their hand of air, and whispered through wind, you are already there. So they feed each other for me, image and writing. I always try to couple them. And there are things you cannot always document, but you can write, and vice versa. But usually for me, it starts with image and then follows with writing. So all these fragments I'm putting almost every day, sometimes twice a day on Instagram. So you can follow me and see these fragments of writing, photos, images, and I try to work with that. But later I want to assemble them to something bigger. I remember in Poland when I was doing my doctoral work, Olga Tokarczuk, when she won the Nobel Prize in 2019, she started her speech, which is available on the website of Nobel Prize. She started with this idea of trusting fragments, because we can make, she says, a bigger constellation, something bigger. So there are all these parts. In a way, by working, you touch infinity, and this way you can show that you're trying to touch something bigger. So for the final, I don't know, maybe you help me, you can give me your opinion. It's possible I make a film, but working with this room, maybe I do a projection. I've been also interacting a lot with people, but it's also possible I do the book. I still don't know, and I let this change happen to me when I met the other person, and I let this kind of changing what I'm doing happen. And thank you so much for today. I'm now rehearsing in Auckland, New Zealand, and behind me is the Saint Patrick's Cathedral, and there's a fellow photographer right behind me. Thank you so much.